There we go. All right. You know what? I'll do a quick introduction just for the people that end up watching it later online. Um, this is Congregation Beth Havarim in Santa Clarita, California. My name is Rick Schafferman. I'm founder and acting rabbi. And it's always a pleasure to introduce Jill Kaplan, our scholar in residence. A little bit of bio information. Jill's devoted 35 years to Jewish education on Long Island. At various times, she was a classroom teacher, a religious school principal, a family ed director. She spent the last 6 years focusing on presenting adult education classes for Malloy University's lifelong learning, as well as for various local sisterhoods and libraries. She is a Soferet, which means she writes on and works, and she works on and writes Torah scrolls, and she did a couple of presentations with us about that. She began in 2012 studying with a renowned Soferet, Neil Yerman, learning the scribal arts and the process of restoring Torah scrolls, which is incredibly intricate. So she's currently a scribe in residence. You're in residence a lot of places, aren't you?
I get around.
You get around at Temple or Elohim, which is a community reform congregation in Jericho, Long Island, and she's working on restoring four of their Torahs. She spends her Shabbat afternoons and holidays with the residents of Atria Tanglewood, which is an assisted living community where they close to their house. She and Paul have lived. Paul's my fraternity brother from college. We've known each other for 50 years. Fantastic guy. They've lived in Freeport, Long Island since 1983. They have two children, Emily and Ross. And here is the absolute best thing of all, granddaughter Maisie.
Absolutely.
So with that, Jill, welcome as always. It's great to see you, and it's all
Thank,
yours. Oh,
thank
and if anybody has any questions, if you want to raise your hand, it's all on one screen right now, so that's good. Or you could just call it out. We're very informal. And Jill is anxious for interaction and to answer questions as we go.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. And once I start screen sharing, I can't see everybody, but Rick, I'm going to count on you if somebody has either raised their hand or put something in the chat. Um, but yes, these programs that I do, I really like when they're interactive. Um, So if something comes up that you have a question or a memory or whatever it is that you want to share, please just join right in. I may not have the answer, but maybe somebody else does if I don't. Um, but we're here tonight because we are acknowledging Kristallnacht. Kristallnacht, which takes place over November 9th and 10th in 1938. And before we can talk about Kristallnacht itself and what it was and what was going on, we need to understand the history that got the world to that point. And so I'm going to do a brief overview of the history leading up to that time. And so understand that this is, because this program is about an hour long, an hour and 15, 20, depending on the conversations we get into. I couldn't possibly go into all of the fine details. So I'm going to speak in very broad strokes. You may say, oh, well, if you're going to talk about that part of history, how come you didn't say this? I can't do it all because then we'll never get to 1938 or even after to find out what happened as a result. But I want to begin with the late 1800s into the early 1900s to understand that Jews were living throughout Europe for centuries. And the largest population at the time in the 1800s, early 1900s, Eastern Europe, Russia, Poland, and even Central Europe, Russia, Poland, um, all of these places where there were large Jewish communities. And in the mid 1800s, the Tsar was oppressing the Jews. We have what's called a pogrom, a series of pogroms. The word pogrom, it means a violent government sanctioned attack on the Jewish people. And this was something that was pervasive throughout our history. I mean, we could go all the way back to Passover and Hanukkah and all of our holidays, right? But I'm focusing on what was going on in Europe at the time. And so what happens is, as these attacks are happening, the Jews start to, whenever possible, leave. They go a little further into the central part of Europe. They're going west. They're going to Great Britain. They're going to Germany. They're going to Romania. They're going to the United States, then Canada, South America. A lot of Jews left again in the 1800s, early into the very early 1900s, into South America, all the various countries there, and also to then Palestine, what will ultimately become Israel. So Jews are now spreading out all over just as a method of survival. And as this happens, a lot of Jews become a little more, as they become assimilated to the various countries that they're living in, they still carry the traditions and the rituals of holidays, but they become a little bit less observant, and it becomes wherever they're living, the country that they're living in, that's their sort of their identity and their nationality. They're still Jewish, but they think of themselves as whatever country they're living in. That we're British, we're French, we're Canadian. Yeah, we also celebrate the holidays. And a lot of assimilation means a lot of intermarriage. Kids are going to school with other children of other religions and other nationalities. People are going into business together. There's a big blending as the Jews are sort of, as I said, as they are assimilating in, just blending into the culture, and everything just sort of is a level playing field, if you will. And then we get into some good decades, the late 1870s, 80s, 90s, into the very early 1900s. Things are kind of quiet for our people, if you will. But then again, in 1914, we have World War One. So what I want to do now is start to screen share because I realized I could have done that a moment ago. Uh, show-
That looks
what do
good.
we see? What do we see?
We see the slide with Kristallnacht.
Okay, good.
Looks good.
Um, in tech, it worked. I just wanted to make sure. So this was the screen that I had up originally, and then we wanted to see everybody's faces. So now I'm getting to the point where, again, I only see a couple of people on the side. So Rick, I'm going to have you help me out if people want to talk about anything.
Okay.
Okay. And actually, I'm just going to move this guy over.
And I don't see everybody. So if I don't acknowledge somebody, then just call out because I see almost everybody, but not everybody. So,
Okay. So now we're into World War One. And so what happens here is, and again, broad strokes of history. Archduke Ferdinand is politically assassinated. He is perceived as a threat to Serbia. He is supposed to be succeeding. And again, I can't, I don't want to get into a lot, but at this time, Germany uses this as an excuse to attack and go to war with Russia. It's a power grab, it's a money grab and land grab, and they use this opportunity to kind of invade and see and attempt to take over. They fail miserably. And what happens is at the time, this is pre-UN, and so it's called the League of Nations, which will ultimately become what we now know as the United Nations. Um, so let's see who's involved in this war. No. Why is this not advancing?
You're kidding,
Okay.
because it advanced before.
Okay. I'm going to stop and start it again because possibly. Otherwise, what I'll do is like one at a time because I think, hold on. All right, let me try this one first. Oh, you know what? I didn't do this. Are we still seeing the same thing?
Same slide.
But now we're
Oh,
not.
now we got the second slide.
Okay, yes. Sometimes it helps if you restart it. I don't understand why. So who is involved in World War One? What then is called the Great War, because the war to end all wars, because they cannot imagine that anything like this would ever happen again. So as I said, in 1914, July 28, 1914, Germany invades. It goes until November 11th, 1918. So the two sides are the Central Powers and the Allied powers. You have Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Turkey, and the Allied Great Britain, France, Russia, Italy, Japan, and ultimately the United States. Just keep these in mind because later, when we get into who fought who on which side in World War II, it's really interesting to do a comparison to see who my friends used to be and who my friends are now. Um, it's a devastating, devastating war for all involved, but particularly for Germany. And the Treaty of Versailles is what the document that is officially signed that not only ends the war, but it also assigns penalties and reparations. And there are 14 points to this treaty that Germany agrees to. Four key points are they have to give back land to the enemies the land around them, their neighbors that they invaded and destroyed. They have to fully dismantle their military to understand this was their identity. This was not, yes, a uniform on the surface identifies and brings together and unifies and gives power and strength, but it also was part of just their essence of who they were. And it was very humiliating for them to have to agree to these points. And so now they have to give up their identity, their military. They also have to pay reparations. They're fined 132 billion gold Reichmarks. At the time, in 1914, that was equivalent to $33 billion US, which in 2023, when I first started doing this program, was 500 billion US. I did not check today's market, but I, I think we're probably running close to six. Uh, it took them 92 years to pay this back. Okay. And during that time, on October 3rd, 2010, was when they finally finished paying back these reparations. So that's 3 points. And the fourth point promise was that they said they would never do it again. I learned my lesson. I'm so sorry, world. I will never do this again. And again, there were other key points other points in this treaty, but these are the four that I want to focus on, because these were the ones that were really damaging to them on every level, on their fiber of who they were, of their financial state, of how they were viewed with the rest of the world, and they're losing their land, they're losing their property, and also the devastation of human loss. There were 9 million soldiers who died, and another 20 million 21 million were wounded. And of those, that's in of all of the powers, but a third of that, just over 3 million, those were German citizens who lost their lives. So it's just an absolute devastating time for Germany. And so now they kind of have to pick up the pieces. They have to figure out how to move forward. The government is completely restructured, and it's called the Weimar Republic. And they are just attempting to figure out how to move forward. As I said, there's unemployment and there's humiliation and death and everybody's stealing. It's just like it's a horrible, horrible time. And but they need somebody who is going to kind of lead them and move forward. And they also have to now start paying things back. So if you know, I'm going to, from time to time, ask questions. If you know the answer, kind of hold back and see someone who's going to just sort of guess at what the answer is. I promise I will call on you before I give the answer. But it's time to. Oh, let me first show you also. This is the map. Oh, the maps that I use, by the way, these are all from the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. So this is a map of what they had to give back. So you can see here's Germany here. So this whole big piece of land over here, this is 13% of their entire land of the country. So over here, they've got to give this back to Poland. Here's Poland over here. And these two pieces here, down here, this little piece over here, this is for Czechoslovakia, up top, over here, like all within the circle of Germany, they're just like paring it away. And it's devastating for them. And also the people who are on that land, they're suddenly no longer like these guys over here. Now you're no longer German citizens, you're Belgian. You have the ability if you want to go back to Germany, but if you want to stay in your home where your business is, you're now part of Belgium. You're no longer part of Germany. So it's devastating on every front. But now it's time to make that first payment. United Nations, League of Nations comes knocking on the door. No, it's not Avon, ding dong, you got to pay your bill. So how are they going to pay it back? Here, that's my first question. If you know the answer, don't answer yet. But if you're not sure, let's take a guess. Let's put our minds together in our new Weimar Republic and figure out how are we going to pay this back so that we can continue figuring out the rest of everything. Don't all shout out at once. Take a guess. Pretend you're the leader. What would you do?
Would it be in their natural resources? Would they supply their natural resources?
You mean like dig for oil? What do you mean
Like,
natural resources?
I think they had coal and they had ironworks, the kind of resources that
That might help one person, but again, when you're looking at 132 billion Reichmarks, gold Reichmarks, a little lump of coal is gonna be a lump of coal in your stocking,
yeah.
so to speak. Anybody else? But sure, thank you, Gail. Anybody else? Mitch, what do you think? Mitch and Meredith, unless you know the answer.
I don't know the answer. I'm
Okay,
guessing
good. Guess.
more land.
More land? What do you mean? Oh, give back more land.
Give,
Okay, I
give.
can't. I can't pay you in the Reichsmarks here.
I'll give you more.
Take my
Oh,
Berlin, please.
Yeah,
Okay. It was hard enough for them to give back what the to have taken from them. I'm not saying they're giving it back. To have that taken, to take more, it's like, why? Sure, just cut off my arm. What do you want? You want my firstborn? Like that. That was not in the cards. Janet has decided to opt out. I see. Anybody else? Or if you want a second guess, I'm going to give you one more. Sure. Gail, go ahead.
that's when you said Reichsmarks, the thing that I remember most about the description of conditions in Germany was they printed so many Reichsmarks that inflation was just enormous. And there was this image of taking wheelbarrows full of Reichsmarks to buy their groceries, that was
So
how the
basically, yeah.
inflation was.
So they're like, we don't have money, but we know where the money's printed, so let's just print some money.
Yeah,
Let's just print a lot of money. And it's called hyperinflation
yeah,
because what happens is the money, there's so much of it that it becomes worthless. It's like when I used to teach this with students, just even a few years ago, and you had like the newest iPhone, right? Like if you were the only one with the newest iPhone, you were just all that. Everybody wanted, and then suddenly everybody had it. $1,400, I don't care. We'll put it on the credit card. We'll pay it off 1 month at a time. And then everybody had it. And suddenly now you need the iPhone 15 or 20 or whatever number they're up to at this point. It just becomes worthless. And that is exactly what happened. Oh, you need a barrel full of money? Sure. How much? I'll give you 2 barrels of money. And these are all real photographs. The one on the left, these two children are standing in front of 1,000 thousands and thousands of Deutschmarks, which all equal the $1 of US dollars that he's got in his hand. This
Wow.
guy on the all the way over on, for me, it's the right-hand side of the screen where he's got this on the wall. He is literally patching up a hole in the wall and putting wallpaper on because it is with money, because the money is worth nothing, but what it would cost for him to get some plaster and some new wallpaper to put over that, just use the money. This woman down in the center here, that's the back end of the stove. She is taking piles of money and putting it into the stove to light it so she can heat up dinner and heat up the house. She's burning the money because to go out and buy an axe to chop down some wood is too expensive. It's worth nothing, and things are even worse than they were before. So the whole country is just devastated. As I said, just morally, there's just no reason to get out of bed. It's just awful. Unemployment, everything is terrible. And so what happens is in this most vulnerable time, when they were the lion of Europe, of the world, in power, intellect, the arts, science, military, economy, everything. And now they are nothing. They are like the joke. They are nothing. And so what happens is, even with the Weimar Republic trying to restructure things, it's clearly not working because when you have ideas like this, how much further can you fall? And so there's this tiny little faction of the German Workers' Party that is kind of making some noise. And Germany needs a leader. They need somebody who will step up and say, I can help you. I know how to fix this. Follow me. The guy with the loudest voice, the guy who is going to say, oh, you need money? I know how to get money for you. We need jobs. I will find you jobs. And this groundswell of people slowly, slowly start to listen to the guy with the loudest voice with all these great ideas. Unfortunately, that guy's name was
Hitler.
Adolf Hitler. So let's find out who he was. He he was actually born in Austria. He is not a German, he is Austrian. And he kind of traveled back and forth between Germany and Austria in World War One. He did fight on the side of Germany. He was a courier in World War One. He was an average artist, a failed average artist. he really just had no direction, particularly after the war, not having that identity. Um, and he worked for the German government for a while. He was going back and forth between Austria and Germany. And at one point, Austria sent him over to Germany because, again, during this devastation, there's like this movement, this kind of offshoot, weird kind of movement called the German Workers' Party. Go see who this is. His assignment was to go over, check out these people, these little subversive people, and bring back the news to Austria to make sure that nothing really bad is going to happen and who is what's going on with them. And so he goes in, he finds out that, their philosophy is all about this pro-German government, this unity, this pride in Germany, exploiting with anti-Semitism and sort of this exclusivity to figure out, how can we be best and what can we get rid of to make us stay the course. And he's always the loudest in the room in these meetings, and he finds that they like that. And he starts to kind of rise in power at these meetings, and he suddenly, before you know it, he kind of takes over. And he's like, no, I'm not going back to Austria. I like what I see here with this party. I think I'm going to stick around a little bit. And you know what? I'm going to be in charge. I seem to know what's going on. You guys, if you listen to me, I think that we can get more done than if I listen to you. And suddenly it goes from like tens of people to maybe a couple hundred people. And slowly, slowly, now it's 1920. And slowly, slowly, he's taken over this party and he has developed a little bit of a following. And we need to now understand where this word Nazi comes from. So the word itself is a combination of like a nickname and an acronym where you had at the bottom you can see. So the German Workers' Party, in German, it's called the Deutsche Arbeiterpartei. It was founded in Munich after World War I, and it combines the nationalist and the socialist ideology. So they take this name of National Socialist, and it becomes National Sozialiste Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, the NSDAP, and they take from that word in the middle there, that's where you get the word Nazi. That's where it comes from.
Okay.
That's the origin of it.
Yeah.
And so now he's got this NSDAP,
Yeah.
and now it's 1923, 22, 23, and now there's like thousands of them. And they're, again, proportionately, they are still a fly on the windshield.
Mhm.
They're starting to grow. And one of the things, so now it's 1923, and now the NSDAP decides that they're going to overthrow the Weimar government and take over. They were a little too full of themselves. That did not work well at all. And they all end up in jail. And during his trial, people would come to see him just to hear him for hours and hours. He was ranting and loud and spewing all this crazy ideology, but it was theater. But it also had this message that was starting to kind of reach some people. And during his imprisonment, he writes Mein Kampf, My Struggle, again, just this diatribe of what is wrong with this country, this beautiful, our beautiful Germany. What has happened? Where has it gone? We need to purify, and going on and on about government oppression, and it's unfair. They don't understand what we're trying to do. And it just goes on and on. And during this time, now they're going from thousands to 10,000. And it starts to also, he starts to take the Treaty of Versailles and pretty much trample it, just tear it up. And so now he's like, oh, no uniforms? Nuh-uh. And so now he's got all his key people. He's got Himmler. Himmler is going to now take care of the military. He's going to lead them. We got the brown shirts. We got our uniforms. We're getting back. We're getting this identity back. We're getting this outward sign of strength. And we've got Goebbels with propaganda creating these all of these ideologies and seeping into this culture, into the students, into the educational system, into the newspapers, and like everywhere you go. It's this multi-pronged approach that is taking advantage of all of the vulnerabilities of the people and giving them show and giving them hope through just this loud messaging that is going on. And the beauty of this idea is there is a place in the Nazi Party for everyone. You have clubs for kids, you have youth groups, you have the teachers' Nazi Party, you have the professionals, lawyers and doctors, labor unions, every single part. Women, we got women's sewing circles, we've got mahjong clubs with Nazi. It's like everywhere you go, university campuses, the students, the every place you go, there is a place in the Nazi Party for you as long as you are Aryan, as long as you are pure German. Again, now we're hitting 19, all through the 20s. This grows slowly. It's this groundswell. It's like you don't even realize what's happening, but everybody is starting to just believe and go along with this. And the divisions are starting to become much more clear. It was a very, through the 20s, it was a very slow rise of the Nazi Party and the Nazi movement. But by the time we get to 1929, then of course the Great Depression hits. That global economy, it's like a setback for everybody. And so now, and the president at the time, we've got von Hindenburg, who is the president. And again, I'm moving quickly, I'm speaking in broad strokes. But by 1930, 1931, and 32,
Uh-oh,
It froze.
we lost Jill.
Oh, oh,
I have to believe she'll be back.
yeah.
Maybe
She
her.
might not know that she's off
Yeah, well,
because she said, "Oh, when the slides were up, she couldn't see people."
right. But she knew we were on. She just,
Well, but maybe you need to call her. Do you have a number?
Yeah, I'm gonna go,
let me see.
Her a text.
Yeah, you too, because you got two of them on. Okay.
Oh, hey, I heard you, Barry.
No, I'm dying.
Oh, no,
I'm dying here. Okay.
I think she went, they went on
Faye
a
said
different
that
computer.
Faye's on a different screen. All right, never mind.
Wait, here, Jill's calling me.
Faye's.
Hi. Okay. Okay. No problem. No problem. No problem. Okay, we'll look forward to seeing you in a minute. Okay. She'll be back.
Yeah, I figured I'll be back.
they were supposed to be having very high winds back there through the night.
Oh, really?
That would affect that. And the other thing that was going on through the 20s in other places like here,
There she is.
the 20s were the roaring 20s.
Yeah.
So Germany's going through all of that
Yep.
while everybody around them is
There she
going through
is.
the roaring 20s.
I'm so sorry. So that
That's
happened.
okay. That's all right.
Did you explain? I thought the plug had not made full contact and I lost power. Oh no. Okay. Um, Okay, so before I come back on, Gail, I came in, I interrupted you. Any thoughts where we are before I continue? Because it's a lot.
What I was just saying was that while through the 20s, while Germany is, going through printing wheelbarrows full of Deutschmarks and things are not good, everywhere else, it's the roaring 20s. So the contrast is huge. It's not until the depression that the rest of the world is experiencing
Yeah.
the pain, from a different source. But
Yeah.
yeah,
There is one thing I was going to add, and that is when you were talking about, you used the word Aryan, and at some point, and now's a good enough point, there was nobody who looked less Aryan. There was an Aryan model of what people would look. There was nobody who looked less Aryan than
then
Adolf Hitler.
right.
Because he wasn't.
He
That's
wasn't at all, and he wasn't German, as you said. He
he
was
wasn't
Austrian,
German, he wasn't blonde and blue-eyed,
right?
and
At
and
all.
yet, um,
He was their guy. Barry
if
raised
I
a good,
may, don't believe what you see, believe what I say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Barry,
I
I know
did
you
have a
want to know.
question if I can.
Yeah.
Please, yes, yes.
Were the other Axis nations penalized similar to Germany, or were they seen as the instigator and the only one who really had all the penalties?
I believe that there were issues for other countries, penalties for other countries, but Germany started it. You started it. No, you did. You
Okay,
started it.
Yeah.
So they
I
were
thought
the
it was
ones.
the breakup of the Ottoman Empire as part of.
Again, I spoke in very
Good. Okay, just so.
big broad strokes because
Okay,
we gotta get to
we're
1930,
done. Thank you.
and we're only in 1932. Yes, Mitch and Meredith, who's
Just
got their hand up.
just a comment,
Sure. Yeah,
real quick.
yeah.
You mentioned the Roaring Twenties, but also in the twenties in the United States, we changed our immigration laws,
Well,
and that's going
we're
to
gonna
play
get
a
to that
role
too.
later
Oh,
on.
to be more restrictive. Yeah.
We're gonna get to that and what was going on in politically in our country.
Right?
I promise you, we're getting to that
No, no, just
in like two more screens. Okay. Anybody else before we get back where we're? Oh, in von Hindenburg. Okay, so he did not even want to run again. He was president. He did not want to take another term, but he sees what's going on with this rise of this kind of, now they're like out of control. Now it's like herding cats. And they decide, the Weimar government decides, okay, Himmler, you got to go one more term. We'll, do one more term as president. And what we're going to do is let's kind of, at least if we appoint Hitler to a position, we can kind of keep an eye on him. Nobody's, he's loud, he's annoying, we got that. But he's kind of like all bark and no bite, and he's really just interested in sort of just, you know, unifying this group. It'll be okay, but at least if we can appoint him, we can kind of keep an eye on him. So Himmler says, okay, so it's 1932, he's president again, and he restructures the government.
Von
So
Hindenburg, not Himmler.
von Hindenburg.
Von Hindenburg.
So he appoints Hitler to as chancellor. Okay, that's like a cabinet, a high cabinet position, but again, everything funnels supposedly through the president and funnels through von Hindenburg. Okay, let me. Oh, now I got to screen share again. Oh no. Oh, actually, you know what? Before I do that, well, too late. I already did this. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do this. Okay, no, that is so not what I want to do. Okay, hold on. Thank you for your patience. Here we go. This is what I need. And where did we leave off? On screen. Which one? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So let me give you guys to this one just to back up. Now I'm gonna Okay. Do we see
Yes.
this? So we're
See the
back
one
to
I'm
that
not
screen.
seeing. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. So, okay. So that's 1932. So now 1933, von Hindenburg dies. And now there's more chaos in the government. And Hitler says, I tell you what, let me make things very easy for you. I'm going to now restructure again. And how about this? Everything will be under one roof. Everything funnels through me. I'm restructuring the entire government. I am Führer. I am in charge. I am king. I am, let me just get this over here. And that's what happens in 1933. And now, all the while, he is espousing this Aryan philosophy, this policy of purification. And his goal, we have to understand, his initial goal was not to annihilate the Jews. It was to get them out of Germany. It was to purify Germany so that we can start again. Again, the Jews were the primary target, but there were also all of the undesirables, homosexuals. Um, why can't I think of anybody else in this
The
moment?
Roma.
The
The
Roma,
gypsies.
yes. So
Yeah.
the Gypsies, the Roma, again, another people who did not have a homeland and did not have an army that was going to come defend them. All of these people who are now, and anybody, of course, who is not going along with things. Also, the progressives, the artists, those who were painting surrealistic pictures and who were writing novels and writing speeches that were not that we're making people uncomfortable. We really need to just kind of settle down and just have one very pure thought, not these music that makes us uncomfortable to hear these atonal sounds. Everything had to just be very simple and pure and German. And now things are going to move really quickly. Like I said, in the 20s, it was a very slow rise, but now in the 30s, it's 1 year at a time and everything is happening. By 1935, we have, between 1933 and 1935, it's signs on parks that say, no dogs, no Jews, and not shopping Jewish owned stores and not hiring Jewish owned people. It's starting to happen between 33 and 35. And by 1935, we have the Nuremberg laws. The Nuremberg laws define your nationality by your biology. If you have in your blood, whether it's you, your parents, your grandparents, if there's a Jew in your family tree, you are no longer German. And these are citizenship, the Reich laws are citizenship laws, and your citizenship is taken away. So if you are no longer a German citizen, what does that mean? What can't you do? Anybody? Class?
Vote.
What can't you do? You can't vote? Okay, what else?
Can't participate in governmental activities I think that at some point you could no longer teach.
You can't work, you can't
Uh,
teach, you
Can't
You
can't
get a
don't have a
business in
License.
Germany.
passport.
you don't have any identity. So what is the function? Thank you. What is the function of the passport?
You get
To
out.
allow you to,
Allows you to leave.
Not only does it allow you to leave and travel and go where you want,
Allows you to come back.
it allows you to come back.
yeah,
It allows you to come back. You can leave anytime you want. Get out of here. You can't come back. And a passport also, in theory, in its essence, it allows you to go someplace, and if you're in trouble, if you're traveling in France, you can go to the French embassy, the American embassy in France, and I'm using, if you have an American passport, you're protected.
yeah.
Your government is going to protect you where you are and welcome you back home safe and home. Not anymore. You are no longer a German citizen. So you can't, and pretty soon you can't work, and pretty soon you can't own property and businesses. This completely falls apart. The structure, the social structure is now completely gone if you are a Jew. Because like I said, it's your citizenship is based on your biology. And so now, again, forget, teachers are not going to be employed. Scientists, all the professionals, no one is, if you have a shop, no one is buying things from you. Therefore, you have no money. You can't work. At least between 33 and 35, women were sometimes like working as cleaning women, doing menial labor, but now it's like nothing. And so now from 35 to 38, everything is moving incredibly fast. And by 1938, two things happen from which there is no turning back. This momentum that is building up, this forward momentum, is now going to be catapulted by these two events. So the first event takes place in 1938, in July of 1938. It's the Avion Conference. No, cut it out. Now I'm not moving. So apparently, every time I want to change the screen, I have to go out and come back in again. I'm so sorry. I can't believe this. Okay, so let's talk about the Avion conference while I find my thing here. Okay, the Avion conference. Anybody know what the Avion conference was? And now yes. So the Avion conference was actually convened by FDR because the pressure is starting to build on him. He's in his second term and thinking about maybe a possible third term, an unthinkable third term. But again, you had said in the 20s how the immigration laws had changed. And we got to take care of, we're just coming out of the Depression ourselves. And now there are thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Jews who have to get out, who are being kicked out of Germany, and they have no place to go. So we've got this conference, the Avion Conference in Avion, France, is convened by him. 32 countries participate. Most of them, FDR doesn't go. He sends a diplomat. Most of them, the leaders of these countries are not going, but they are sending diplomats to make this show. Yeah, we attended, we went. And only one country says, yes, I will take some refugees. That's the whole point is who is going to take all of these refugees who are being kicked out of this country? And they all say one by one, no, 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 can't, no room, sorry. And when Hitler sees this, what is the message that he receives?
Nobody wants the Jews.
So therefore,
He has to get rid of
Get
them
rid
a
of
different
them.
way.
I can do whatever I want.
Right?
Nobody wants them. Nobody cares. And so what we have now is, hopefully, we'll see. Okay, this was on the cover. This is the cover of the New York Times from July of 1938. And it's a little fuzzy, I apologize. So here you've got an Aryan. He's got a yarmulke, a non-Aryan, excuse me. He's got a yarmulke. This is clearly who's targeted. All the paths are the swastika. All the paths are oh, and I failed to mention that part of their uniform was now they got a flag and they got a symbol. And this is all part of this unification of the Nazi party and the Nazi movement. So now at the end of every piece of the road from the swastika is a stop sign. And the Avion conference, there it is, bright in the background. Is this going to help him? Is this going to help the Jew, the non-Aryan? And the answer is no, because nobody cares. I can do whatever I want. There's no army that's going to come after me. There's no, I got nothing. I got nothing to worry about. I still got to get rid of them. I got to get them out of here. But I can do whatever I want to get them out of here. I got no problem. By the way, I kind of glazed over it a little bit, but I said that all but one country said no. So anybody want to take a guess what that country was, unless you know?
China.
Nope. Pick a country, any country.
I was thinking Canada, but I don't think that's the right
It
one.
was not Canada. No.
Was it Russia?
And we know it wasn't us.
No,
Right,
it
exactly.
wasn't the British Empire, that's for sure.
The Dominican Republic.
Oh,
Dominican Republic says, you know what? We'll take like a couple thousand. We'll take like up to 10,000 refugees, but little qualification. We'll take men between the ages of, oh, maybe like 18 and 45 or 50. What can men of 18 to 45 or 50 do
work,
that younger or older or women can't?
work.
These are workers. We need infrastructure. We need someone who's going to help build our roads, someone who's going to intermarry and kind of lighten up our. They had been struggling with their own purification system, if you will, and they were looking to kind of lighten things up a little bit. So we'll take some, but within these qualifications, and a couple thousand did go, but and at least they survived. So we've got this. I want to now talk about the Jewish population of Europe. And the map that I truly hope I'm about to show you um, gives the population. This is based on 1930. So this is right before the escalation of the purification and the Nazi movement. So if you want to take a guess, pick a country, maybe either that your family is from, or a country that there were Jews, and take a guess what the population was in there. I'm going to show you the map in a second, but just real quick. Pick a country, and what do you think the population was pre?
I think Poland had around 3 million.
Okay. Anybody want to pick another country? Let's hold with that. Okay. Anybody else?
Hungary, about 500,000.
Okay. Gail, you want to pick a country? Where are your people from? As my late mother-in-law used to say, where are your people from?
Who are your people?
My people are from here. You're
The
all
area
throughout Europe.
between Poland and Belarus, and that border changed frequently.
It did. That's another thing, is that the borders were constantly changing.
Hmm.
But sure. So how many were in there?
I'm
And Rick, you're next, so I hope you're preparing an answer.
I
Pick a number.
4 million.
Okay. Okay. And Rick, because you're the only other person I see on my screen right now.
My mother's family was from Lithuania or Latvia, somewhere
Okay.
in there, and I'm
And
guessing after all the pogroms and everything, and some people had gotten out, I'm guessing maybe 500,000.
okay. So again, from the Holocaust Center, Poland, you got it right. There were 3 million. Look at the size of Poland.
Whoa.
Poland had the largest Jewish population
Oh my God.
in Eastern Europe. 3 million. You said, who else did we say? Austria? Did somebody say Austria?
No.
No, you said
I
Lithuania.
said Hungary,
Hungry.
Hungary. Here's Hungary. And what did you say?
500,000.
Close.
Yeah.
445. Lithuania, I think somebody said, or
I
Latvia.
did. I was way off. I said
Okay.
500,000.
Yeah, so 155, 95.
To the
Soviet
Soviet Union.
Union, look at the size of the Soviet Union, and they had 500,000 less Jews, fewer Jews than Poland. But you can see, so in again, right before the Holocaust began, and 9.5 the Jewish population in, and again, this is an approximation, but these are the numbers that we work with, 1933, 9.5 million Jews. And again, we know the number we work with is that 6 million of those 9.5 million Jews were murdered. So again, what's going to happen now is the second of the two things. I said there were two things that happened and there was no going back. So the first that really gave him the impetus to just let loose and just do whatever he wanted was the Avion Conference. And now what happens November 9th into 10th, 1938, is Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, where 10,000, okay, let me just get my numbers here. So we have 1,000 synagogues that were burned, 7,000 Jewish-owned stores and businesses were looted and destroyed. 30,000 men were rounded up, arrested. They were ultimately sent to Dachau, which became like a holding tank. Again, in 1938, Auschwitz did not exist. Auschwitz became part of the answer. It wasn't the final solution, but it became part of the answer of what are we going to do with all these people. So Dachau was sort of like the holding tank at the time, became like the holding tank until they could be funneled into these other concentration camps. The walls were built up, ghettos instantly. What's going to happen in 1939 when Poland gets invaded is that's the beginning of the Holocaust itself. But here we are. Women were raped, property was destroyed. It was just a night. It's now referred to as the November pogrom. You may hear that phrase as because we are approaching Kristallnacht over the weekend, and so you in some reports that you read or see, or maybe something that you attend to, it's also referred to as the November pogrom. Again, a government sanctioned violent attack against the Jewish people. And so what happens in the aftermath, after this night of destruction, the Jews are then forced to pay fines. It costs money to get the fire department over there. The fire department is showing up because your non-Jewish, your Aryan-owned business is next to a synagogue that was set on fire. And so to protect your business, the fire department is showing up not to put out the fire in the synagogue, but to make sure that your property is okay. Costs money to send the fire department out. Costs money to have all these people employed to destroy all of this stuff. And so the Jews are forced to pay fines, to reimburse the government for all of the damages, and the fire department and the police and all of the costs. And this becomes the beginning of what will happen a few months later, not quite a year later, in September 1939, when Poland is invaded. So here I'm keeping this map up so that you can see. So there's Poland in the center. You got Germany on the west, and you got the Soviet Union on the Russia on the eastern border. At the time, Germany and Russia are on the same side, and so they decide they're going to invade Poland. So depending on which side of Poland you were in, maybe you were getting ultimately sent to Siberia. There were a lot of Jews from Poland, and ultimately once Germany realizes, oh, I don't need you, Russia, you're no good, then Russia ends up being on the side of the Allies. You get sent to Siberia versus getting sent to Auschwitz or to one of the concentration camps in Poland and in Europe. So this is the breakup of the breakup of who is fighting on which side. So the Axis and the Allies, you had the Central Powers before, so now you have the Axis and the allies, Germany, Italy, Japan, Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria. And you have the allies, Great Britain, the United Kingdom, France, the US, Australia, Belgium, all of these countries. And so Russia, I've got that with a little asterisk because, as I said, they began fighting in 1935, 1939. They had made a pact, and that was when they invaded Poland. And by 1941, Hitler's like, don't need you. Russia who? And so ultimately it is the many Russian soldiers who are liberating those camps. And particularly in Auschwitz, you have so many stories of these Russian soldiers who go in to liberate the camp. Um, so what I said was, or actually, I'm going to show you some scenes now of what happened. So these are, as I said, the 1,000 synagogues, all of these beautiful synagogues. Because there was such a huge Jewish population there, there were many, many synagogues. And these were just built in these beautiful styles. These all of the community was locked into this temple community, and they are all destroyed. And the firemen, as I said, are on scene to make sure that the fire doesn't spread to someplace that it doesn't belong. And so you see these people in horror just watching as their beautiful synagogue, their home is just destroyed. Um, say what you will about the Nazis, they loved to document things. And in 2022, Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial in Israel, had come into possession and ultimately publicized a whole bunch of photographs that they were given. And the Nazis documented everything. So here they are destroying one of the synagogues. They're knocking things over. The idea was that they were going to they took anything that was of value. And again, a Torah is adorned in with silver and with maybe the breastplate has, the 12 tribes with different jewels on it. And they were taking these Torahs, they were taking everything to build this memorial, to build, not a memorial, to build a museum of the people that were not worthy of living, the people we destroyed. This is the museum of the people that were destroyed. And so they documented everything. They took what they thought was of value. Also, of course, we know going into the homes, rousing up people in the middle of the night, taking anything of silver, paintings, art, jewelry, anything that was of value, and taking them into the local police stations to be sent into Dachau, to be sent to, and so they're taking all of this, just destroying their, pouring gasoline there. You can see he's got the can of gasoline in his hand. They've taken everything that was worth. They took all the books so that the prayer books, the Sidurim. They took the Torahs, everything, because these are the documents of the people that go into the museum. Ha ha! Look what we did. And so this is the exact same synagogue where they have set it on fire. And you can see that this is in a photo album.
Yeah.
These are the pictures that were in the photo albums of their documentation. Going into people's homes in the middle of the night, tearing through the furniture, because again, now we have learned, well, if we have anything of value, if we have any money or jewels or anything, hide it in the furniture, hide it under here, sew it into the lining of the clothes. And so they're tearing through everything to see if there's anything hidden. Here they are taking out all of the books that they are, all these look like they are like a religious books that they're taking. Again, in the photo albums, taking pictures of the people that they are about to round up and put in prison until they can have them sent somewhere. Get them out of this country. We cannot have them here. And so in the middle of the night, they are taken. I want to make sure I'm not going too fast. Okay. Oh, so this is the Fassenstrasse Synagogue. This is an artist's rendering. This is from 1912 in Berlin, this beautiful synagogue with the gold leaf and the domed ceilings and how grand. This is like a palace. And this is what it looked like in 1912. This is the artist's rendering. And this is what it looked like on the morning after, on November 10th in the morning of 1938. Nothing left. One of the things that people said was, well, nobody really knew. You didn't have communication, you didn't have phones and TikTok to show videos and everything. That headline that I showed you before from 1938, that was the cover of the New York Times. And here we have, this is a very famous photograph of the day after. I'm going to talk about the headlines in a second. I forgot that I had this in here. So this is a typical street scene of again, now it's on the 10th, it's the morning, and you can see, first of all, the destruction. These were Jewish-owned businesses, and you can just see that there is just nothing left, that everything is broken. Whatever merchandise was in the window was either burned or taken out. You've got this couple in the front, in the foreground. Honey, where should we go? Do you feel like chicken for tonight, or should we go what should we have for dinner? Like they are completely oblivious to what is going on. They are completely unaffected by this scene because clearly they have nothing to worry about. They are German. There is nothing going on that is of any concern to them except where are they going? What are they going to have for dinner? What should we do? Who should we visit? Nothing. You got a couple people, this other guy with the suitcase, he's also on his way. He is taking a look. But then you have the people that are standing real close who literally, maybe this is even their shop, or they knew whose it was, or they went there all the time. And look what is left, and look what my reality is. Look where my beautiful Germany, where again, we're German. We're not Jews, we're German. They're not after us. This is the life, this is the reality that they have to face now. And when I said before that people didn't really know, again, this was on the cover of newspapers. It just wasn't. It sometimes it was so surrealistic that it was, oh, they're exaggerating. Sometimes it was, oh, it's over there, it's not here. How are we going to prevent it from being here? But still, you have in the bottom, you have the German soldiers protecting.
But it never asked for the password.
I'm sorry?
That's okay.
Okay. You have the Germans protecting, making sure that the Jewish owners of this business are not going to go in and try and get whatever valuables are left. You have people being rousted out of their apartment buildings, it was very public what was going on, both within Germany and around the world. But you just don't think that this is going to happen. And earlier, when I talked about the numbers, and I said, of the 9.5 million, again, let's work with those numbers. Of the 9.5 million Jews that were there, that 6 million Jews died, murdered, not died, were murdered, slaughtered. That of that 6 million, 1.5 million were children. And when you hear a lot of times when you hear people giving testimony, when you read about it, people were so affected in different ways that you could have two people who were in the same concentration camp, in those wooden beds that they had, lying next to each other, who experienced things very differently and had very different stories to tell. It's not the story of 6 million. It's one and one and one. Every single person had a different experience. And so I just want to share with you one story because obviously I don't have time to tell all. So this is the story of a fighter pilot. This goes back to World War One. This is a Jewish German citizen who in World War One was fighting for Germany, who lived there and was fighting for the Mutterland, the motherland. And here he is in his pilot's uniform. Here he is in his full attire. And this is actually a postcard. And on the other side of the postcard is a letter that he has written. And it took me quite a while to find somebody who could translate it, but somebody, so this is the email. So at the top it says, Meine liebe Oma, my dear grandmother. I'm not going to attempt the rest of the German. But the translation is my dearest Nana, my dearest grandmother. Enclosed or attached is a photograph that unfortunately did not turn out very well. I will have myself photographed again with my extra cap, extra mutza, in the city. Warmest regards and kisses from your faithful grandson, Kurt. And it is postmarked. You can see, I know it's on its side. I wanted to be able to fit all three pictures, but it's on its side, but it says Tron, which is in Poland. And again, because they are writing the date sort of backwards from what we do. So the post on it is from, actually, I can just read it here. From the first, from January 10th, 1918. And remember, this is going to go until November 11th, 1980. So this is the beginning of the year. It's going to, so he still has a little more fighting to do, but in those. And it is sent to Mrs. Anna Zaretsky, the Jewish Home for the Aged in East Prussia. Olsztyn, Poland, which is now, which then was East Prussia, which is now Poland. So the question, of course, is how do I come? And she gave me information on the background on all of this. So how do I come to all of this specific knowledge? This is my grandfather.
Wow.
Wow.
This is my father's father. My father was also born in my grandfather, Kurt Soretsky. I grew up with the last name Saret, Saret, but here it is the full name of Soretsky, so it ends in ZKI. And he was born in then Prussia, but ultimately it was part of Germany. And after the war, he went to school and he became a pharmacist. So this is his letter to his grandmother said, meine liebe Oma. This is meine liebe Opa, because I called my grandparents Oma and Opa. And this is my father's father. This is him in his pharmacy in Berlin in 1923. And
How do I close my picture on this for them to see me? I don't even want them to see me.
if you you know what, if you move your mouse, Janet, if you move your mouse on your screen anywhere, you're going to see in the bottom corner, there's a little picture of a camera. And so if you click on that, then your screen, there you go. Okay, nice photo. Okay. So my father, that's my dad. He was born in 1930 in Berlin. And this is in his, I think he's about 2.5 or 3 years old at the time. That's his little toy monkey. What happens is very quickly, because I don't want to, I realize we had a lot of tech issues, so I apologize. This is going long. But basically, what happens is in 1937, so as the 30s were going along and the Nuremberg laws, The children that used to be his friends were suddenly throwing rocks at him. And then he wasn't allowed to go to school. And he was an only child, so he was very protected by my grandparents, and my grandmother's mother, my Nana, also lived with them. And in 1937, in the middle of the night, my grandfather was rousted up with about 1,000 other Jews and taken to the local precinct where they were about to be processed so that they could be sent to Dachau, as I said. And amidst this chaos and these crowds, the police captain, there was like a bridge on the overlooking where all of these prisoners are, and he was just kind of walking back and forth, inspecting as this process is going on, and he points from above. He points to my grandfather and he says, "I want that one in my office right now." And he's the captain, so of course. So my grandfather is now brought to his office. The door closes, and the captain says, Kurt, terrible things are happening. You have to get out. Go home now. I will come and see you later on, but you have to get out. So why in the world obviously I'm getting very emotional. Why in the world does my grandfather get to have this fortune? Because, as I said, my grandfather was a pharmacist, and the police captain also lived in the same apartment building. My father was friends with his son. How many times, and back then, a pharmacist was the one, he was like a doctor. You would go to him, I have a cold, I got something with my foot, whatever it is, and he would, take the mortar and pestle and mix you up some kind of a remedy. How many times had my father helped save and heal his family and his friends? And so now this is the opportunity that he has to help him. My grandfather was one of 9 siblings, many of whom in the late 20s and early 30s had gone to various countries in South America. One of them had come to New York. And it was just my grandfather and the very youngest, Adi, the youngest of the siblings. And so immediately my grandfather rushes over to Adi's house and says, "You can't believe what just happened to me. We got to get out. The captain is going to help us." And in the morning, when the police chief comes and he says, "Look, you've got brothers in all these countries. Wire them. Get word to them. Get a sponsor. Get a way to get out." I'm sorry, the sponsor is going to come later on in the United States. But find a sibling and go to them. And so immediately they get these papers together, they get everything together, and by early 1938, they get out. They take a train. My father tells the story of taking 2 trains. They end up in Marseille to get on a boat and get to the across to South America. And that's my father, his parents, and his grandmother, as I said, my grandmother's mother. Adi and his wife are not on this trip because Adi is this young rabbi. He's got a little shtibel, he's got a little community, and he says, "They're not after us. This is not, we're Germans. Yeah, it's scary. I know it was scary what happened to you, but I'm staying here. I've got my congregation. We're okay. We'll be okay." So they go, and of course, he is not okay. And ultimately, he ends up in Auschwitz. He is trying desperately months later, because what happens is, so this was not early 1938, then Kristallnacht happens, and now he tries to get word to Kurt, to any of his other siblings, and he's not able to get out, and he and his wife ultimately end up in Auschwitz where they are murdered, where they perish. So they go to Bogota, to Colombia. That's where one of the siblings was, one of his siblings. And so from 1938 to 1945, they are in Bogota. And a very different environment. This is a photo from my family album. And this is them. He's not allowed to be a pharmacist there, but he does manual labor for a while. He ends up doing all kinds of different jobs. And ultimately, There are some family members and friends of the family, distant cousins, who were already in the United States. And by 1948, they end up being able to get passage to the United States, and they start over again. Keeping in mind, at this point, my father is 15, and my grandfather is not going to be allowed to be a pharmacist there. Basically, the United States says, yeah, if you want to go back to medical school and you want to go back and get your license and all of that, sure. But my grandfather at that point, he's old enough that that's not going to happen. He ends up being working at Harvard as a chemist and as a scientist. But keep in mind, so my father is 15. When they come, they don't speak English. They speak German, they speak Yiddish, they prayer book Hebrew. Now they've learned Spanish, and now he's going to learn English. And this is the family. And I always joke, this looks like central casting from like a Hitchcock movie. Like these are all the bad guys that are getting together to put the grains, the crystals in the bottles of wine in Notorious. But actually, this is the Sommerfeld family that became Summerfield. This is the family that saved they were the sponsors. They were the ones who saved our family and allowed us to come into the United States. Being a sponsor, that means that you are responsible financially, criminally. You're going to make sure that the people that you're standing up for, they're not going to be a lien on the government or anything like that. And so they're actually the good guys. And this is a picture. So this is in Brookline. They lived in Cambridge for a very long time because both my grandmother and my grandfather were working at Harvard. So that's my Oma and my Opa in the center. My Oma's in blue, and my grandfather, my Opa, he's in the plaid shirt there, and that's with two of his sisters. So this is Tante Edith, depending on where they ended up. So on the left, that's Tante Edith, the woman that I called Tante Edith. But Aunt Gustel is on the right because she was in America. Tante Edith was in South America. So depending on where they were, I called them by different names. And I will close with. So this is four generations of survivors. This is my father. This was taken in 2022 when that's my son Ross. So when his daughter was born,
Easy.
Maisie, that's Miss Maisie. I guess I should put an updated picture. But this is four generations of Soretsky's. And that was the one time that we actually. So he retired down to the Cape. He was in Massachusetts, but retired down to the Cape. And so when Maisie was born, I I drove up so Ross and his wife Sam and Maisie, we all went to Connecticut. I got a hotel for the day. I had already gone up to the Cape and I drove my father and his wife down to the Cape and we spent like the afternoon so that they could meet their great granddaughter. So,
Wow.
so that's just one story. And so I invite you now, if anybody, I'm going to stop sharing. If anybody wants to share any stories or anything that they want to say.
You know what? I don't have a personal story, but I will share a story, and I wish I had thought of it to show the picture. Does anybody else have a story? And I'll go find the picture in the meantime.
Oh, okay.
Um, well, here's the story, and there's a friend that some of you know, and many of you probably don't, and um, his name is Henry Moskowitz. He lives 5 minutes from me, and and his sister is also married to a teacher who lives close to us. Anyhow, Susan. But anyhow, Henry's father survived. I think it was Auschwitz, or maybe it was Dachau. I think it was Auschwitz. And there's a photo that I have in my file, and I can pull it out. He ended up moving to California, got married, had several children. Actually, funny story. They had a house on the same block where they filmed Back to the Future,
Oh, cool.
where the family lived. You know, where he would hang out. Michael J. Fox would hang out with his girlfriend. Anyhow, he was this, and this story probably goes back at maybe 20 years ago or something like that. But his father, David Moskowitz, one day was sitting there reading. It was either Newsweek or Time or one of the magazines, and he's just kind of flipping through the pictures, and he turns the page, and there was an article about the liberation, and there's a photograph, and there he is on Liberation Day.
Wow.
And it's a very powerful story. And whenever I would do a Holocaust presentation, I'd always show it to the kids.
Wow.
You know what? I'll go look for it if somebody else has a story.
Yes. Yeah.
So, my first wife, great aunt, Dora Scheibel, and she was the sister of her grandmother, her father's mother. They came from Germany, but her father's mother, they came from Germany in the teens. But her sister Dora stayed, and she got caught up in this whole mess. And there was a neighbor at the time. His name was William Scheibel, who was not Jewish,
Mm.
and he hid her. And I don't know all the rest of it. I don't know. Maybe I was told back in the 70s. By the way, Eddie, she lived up in Washington Heights there. Anyway, and he saved her, and somehow they came to the United States. Well, they had a sponsor, her sister, and they came to the United States at some point, and she settled with him in Washington Heights in New York. And well, I have something of hers that she gave us,
Wow.
but I'm not going to take it down. She was a chef. She cooked. She was invited to people's homes to cook. She was like not a personal chef, but she cooked Jewish food.
Nice.
And she gave us this huge schnitzel, big red schnitzel that's coated.
I don't know what a schnitzel is.
It's a big bowl. A schnitzel is like a big plate, a big bowl, or whatever.
Okay.
It's Yiddish, and that's what I have, and we use it sometimes as a punch bowl. But yeah, it was my first wife. She rest in peace. Her great aunt Dora.
Wow.
And we used to visit her. I was living out in Eastern Long Island, and we used to go visit her. And every time we would visit her, she would give me this glass of what she called cherry wine.
I know where this is going.
And every time I drank the cherry wine, eventually I would fall asleep. And she always wondered why I always fell asleep when I visited. But this stuff was really good. You know what it was? It was cherries soaked for God knows how long in brandy.
I was going to say, was it like schnapps or something?
She made her own cherry wine. She just soaked it in brandy, in jars of brandy.
There you go.
And after, well, how long, right? But it's the brandy, but she poured it like a glass of wine. You don't drink brandy like that. It was so good, sweet. And
Of course, yeah.
Drink it.
Goes down real nice.
Yeah,
What
that's
a beautiful story, though. Thank you. Oh, you got the picture.
I don't know how easy this is to see, but it turns out it's Dachau. It's the Liberation Day on Dachau. and the Russians liberated the camp. And in the middle, there's several, but there's one right in the middle with his arm up in the air, and that's David
Wow.
Moskowitz.
Wow.
He died.
Oh,
I don't remember how long ago it was, but I got to know him over the years, and really very, very soft-spoken man. And but can you imagine sitting there just leafing through a magazine, and you turn a page, and there you are as a little boy being liberated from a
wow.
concentration camp. And
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
So Mary and I are new to this community and we're making friends. And just on Friday, we had lunch with a lovely couple, and Randy's from Cleveland. So we're sharing stories. Um, and it comes out. I mentioned I'm tutoring some kids and they're studying in their curriculum the Holocaust right now. So I mention it and we talk a little bit, and then he goes and gets an old picture from like 1965 from the neighborhood, and his parents and another couple are sitting in a diner. And he goes, "Oh, these are my parents, and this," and he points to the guy, "he's Sam." And Randy used to play with Sam's kid Irving, so that's the connection. And he goes, 1965. Randy, our friend, he was just a teenager or so. Sam had come from, I don't remember where in Europe, Hungary maybe. Um, and the way Randy knew him, he was a car salesman. But he said, we knew that Sam's family had been killed in the war. So Sam was probably 20. One night, guys come in and they took his whole family. And before they left Sam because he was um, strong and he could work. Sam looked at one of the German guys and he said, when the war is over, I'm going to hunt you, I am going to find you, and I'm going to kill you. And the German guy said, yeah, sure, leaves. So Sam goes through whatever he went through. And like I said, fast forward to 1965, he's a successful guy. He's happy, he's strong. And Randy, our friend, says one weekend, Sam flew off to Hungary. 3 days. Yeah, he had found the guy. He had hunted the guy down. He found the guy. He killed him, and he came back to the United States.
wow.
Wow.
And he killed him with his bare hands.
Oh my.
Oh.
Wow.
So that's my story. That's like a third hand, but we just heard it Friday.
Wow, that's a story.
Wow. Oh. Oh, the
That's
shizzle.
this is the shissel.
Wow, that is a significant bowl.
It's a very significant.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, it's all. I don't
It's
know.
enameled.
It's
Yeah, I
enamel.
was gonna say I can hear like your ring on there. Oh, wow.
I wonder how old it is.
I don't know.
Are there any markings?
No, it's just kind of
That's a number.
a number.
Yeah,
That
Barry.
is outstanding.
Good. Yeah,
Yes, yes, Barry.
Aunt Dora's bowl.
Oh,
I want to say thank you for presenting it. It helped clarify a little bit. I
Yeah.
kept mentioning Hungary. Um, my grandfather came over before 1900.
hmm
He was the oldest of 9 children. What I found out, because I have on the wall his parchment passport, he probably went back and forth a couple times. At one point, I had his US passport. But what I understand is in the late 1930s, okay, he went back, okay, and brought his baby brother over
Mhm.
and whatnot. So I
Yeah.
did not know I mean, I knew some of the concept and the context, but I didn't know as much about it as perhaps timing. So thank you.
Yeah, this has been really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And all these great stories. Gail, you got something?
But I was struck by in your story when the captain pointed to your grandfather, that was the human connection. And the othering other people
Mhm.
is what can lead to a Holocaust.
Mhm.
And we have to maintain the human connections.
And clearly this German officer did not ascribe to the Nazi ideology. He was doing his job.
Right.
But like you said, there's that human connection when he sees, and I did not know this story until I heard my father give testimony. Growing up, all I knew was my family came from Germany, they went to South America, they came to the United States.
Yeah.
My father can speak Spanish, so therefore, when it comes time for me to learn, should I take Spanish or French in junior high? I'm taking Spanish because everybody in they can help me. When they don't want to know, when they don't want the kids to know what they're saying,
Right.
they'll speak German or they'll speak. But I had no idea because they sheltered us
Right.
completely. I had no, and we're not studying it in public schools,
Yeah.
and so I had no concept of what my own family went through, never mind world history. And when I saw, it was probably at this point, it was probably about 10 or 12 years ago, I would say at this point, my daughter and I went to the Cape. I was going to say went down to the Cape because when you grow up in Massachusetts, you're
Right.
wherever you are, you say, I'm going down the Cape. But actually, I was coming from New York, so I was going up to the Cape. But we heard him give testimony. It was the first time that I had ever heard, and I couldn't get out of my chair. I couldn't stop crying. I just when everybody finally had left, they all wanted to talk to him afterwards. And when it was just him, and I couldn't let go of him. And but to hear him tell this story, I want that one. It was just like it went right through me.
Yeah. The whole magnitude of it.
And there were stories like that. There were obviously not enough. But the people whoever it was who hid Barry, who hid your family member, the people, there were those that would hide a family or one person or help, even if it was just give them, some food. I can't shelter you because it's going to put me in danger, but take this or take this money and just leave. It did happen, but it just didn't happen enough.
I recently read the story. It was a historical fiction of um, the in Denmark. They were able to get, I think there were 8,000 Jews in Denmark, and they were able to get 7,500 Jews out of Denmark on fishing boats to Sweden, which was neutral, which was just,
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of heroes. There were those who focused, Irena Sendler, who focused on saving children. Like,
yeah,
some of them, and Schindler's List, you got
yeah,
but there were so many, as we say, it was one family that hid one person or one family, and was it in the barn or, whatever the circumstances were. Um, but we're still here.
yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know if anybody else has anything to add. Jill, this was outstanding. And I think when we first talked about this very briefly a long time ago, you made some comment about a personal connection. And
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't ask and you didn't tell. And I
No,
was,
and even if you had, I probably would have said wait for the movie.
No, and I was thinking, I knew that was going to come at some point, and that was,
And the good news is it comes in 2 parts.
yeah, and it was very,
Can't
it was
believe that.
really
I'm so
intense.
sorry about my connection. I
No,
just,
no, that's okay.
you guys are very patient. Thank you so much.
We, I can speak for everybody when I tell you how much we appreciate it and how much we appreciate you being part of our congregation. And,
Thank you.
you know, one of these days I'm going to be back east and we're going to meet. But
Okay. All right.
or
Or who
come here.
knows? I have my friend who also lives in Santa something
Yeah,
out in
a lot of Santas around
California.
here.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Um,
come out here and we'll have a Shabbat.
there you
We
go. There
got a
you
lot of
go.
Santas out here.
That's right.
Yes, yes, you do. And we're coming up on that time of year as well. So, all right, guys. Well, it's
Almost
coming up
midnight.
on midnight over here in New
Oh,
York, and I haven't eaten dinner yet, so I'm gonna go. But thank you
thank
for
you.
inviting me, and we'll do something a little lighter next time. How's
Thank
that?
you. Thank you. I'll talk to you
Okay.
next few days.
All righty.
All
Good
right.
night, everybody. Be well.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Great.
I actually don't know how I'm supposed to leave this. Oh, there it is. Leave.